So continuing on this scanf, which uses %s format specifier, and this is the syntax. We saw that in the video, and if you look carefully, scanf also places the null character at the end of the string. So we have to make sure we pass one extra cell, right, to place for the null character. Let's take this example. I have written a name 16 with a 16 cell array, and I have just made a name, assigned a name Samuel Jackson, and let me remove this guy. So my name is, alright, is, it prints the name for us, the array, and we're going to ask the user to enter the name into the array, and we'll see what happens when we type values more than characters more than 16 and characters less than 16. Alright, so in other words, we have an array which is 16 cell array, and if we give a string that's longer than this, what happens? And shorter than 16, what happens? Alright, let's check it out. So all I did was scanf %s, and the name is like I said, is the address to the first cell. So you don't have to pass the ampersand for strings, for array of characters. And I'm going to print the name. Alright. So it prints my name is Samuel Jackson, testing, enter a name longer than 16. So let's enter a name which is little more than 16. Okay, let's say George Bush Senior from Texas. Let's leave it as is. So it prints. Alright, so how many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you are kind of lucky that nothing really happened. It shouldn't be 16, but sometimes the C language system lets you go. It's supposed to crash here, but let me give a string that's more than 16. George Bush Senior, George Bush Senior from Texas. Here it crashed because you gave a length that's way too far. This entire memory is not within your program. So as soon as you entered a letters that are more than 16, you actually spilled over into memory that do not belong to you, and it crashed. Alright, that's why you have to take utmost care in making sure you don't spill over the size of the array. Alright, so if you go back here, it warns you with a lot of errors. that stack smashing detected. Wow, because every program has some stack memory and all that, so it you overshoot that, and it got terminated. So let's give a let's do it again. In this case, George. Alright, so we are giving a value that's much less than 16 in our case. Alright, so what happens to this memory right here? Is it filled with ones or twos, or what is it? Is it garbage or is it null character? We'll look into that now. So my name is Samuel. Testing, enter a name longer than 16. So I have entered George and I'm going to enter. So it printed my name is George. So there's nothing happened, right? The program successfully printed, but when you print is characters, when you print array, character of array with the %s, this guy requires a null character at the end, otherwise it won't print. So scanf places that for you, alright, on the extra cell. That's what this PowerPoint says. Scan also places the null character at the end of the string, so we have to make sure we pass one extra cell. Alright, so you have to, but sometimes it's also better to test if the length is bigger than 16 or not. So how would you compute the length of the character the user typed? So for that, to compute length, of the array, so how do you compute the length of the array here? Right? So let's write a simple program. Alright, count int equal to count equal to 0. Right? The way we are going to write this length of a character array, that holds the string, alright, how do you compute that? So our array, let's pretend it is 60 to 615, and user has entered George, right, and it places end of character here. So how do I know the length of the character that user, the length of the string that user has entered? Alright, we are going to write a program for that. The program is count equal to 0. We are going to initialize a variable to 0, and we are going to say while our name, I'm going to use a, is not equal to 0, null character, I also, we are going to declare another variable I equal to 0. Alright, while it is not equal to 0, I'm going to I plus plus and count plus plus, and I'm going to use braces here. So this is a simple program to count the length of a string. Alright, so our input array is the name. I'm going to navigate from 0, from our array is, let's pretend our array is 16. We're going to start from I equal to 0, which is this guy, as long as that is not equal to 0. So basically we are looking for the null character in the array. Is it the first cell contains the null character? If it's not, we are going to go to the next cell, I plus plus, and when you go up there, you're going to count the string length. You're going to increment it to 1. Then I now equal to 1 and count is equal to 1, right? Count equal to 1. Alright, and is, this is George, let's say, we are in the cell number 1, is, which contains E, is E equal to null character or not equal? So it's not equal. So we go back, we increment I to 2 and count to 2. Then again, next one, this is 2. Is O equal to null character? No. So this is true. It goes back to increments I to 3 and count to 3. So it goes on and on until it bumps into the null character. So when my null character, the cell value is equal to the null character, this is not true anymore, right? So it figures, that's why you compute the length of the string using a while loop, using 2 characters, 2 variables. Okay, let's check it out. I equal to 0, while name not equal \0 I plus plus count plus plus. Alright, it matches my strings, my braces, and when I'm out, when will I be out of the while loop? When I bump into the null character. So what would I do when I'm out of the while loop? I have to print it. Print count the length of this string is %s, oh, %d, I'm sorry, %d \n to our count. Yeah, this is a very simple inefficient while loop. All right, and so I just made it up. All right, let's go on. All right, testing. I'm going to just enter George Bush. All right, so my letter count is 10. G 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. 10 letters. So the length of the string is 10. All right, and if you go back here, we can even minimize to one variable. We can even do this. All right, George Bush. Yeah, so there are two ways. First we did the inefficient way, and then we removed another variable and to count the length of the string. So you get the message how the null character is important. Without the null character, there is no way you could find the length of the string. Okay, here. Oops. Let me write here. So we are done with this, right? Let me copy that to the PowerPoint here. Right? So here, without the null character, okay, null character, you cannot compute the length. All right, so this is very important, how you handle the null character when it comes to strings in C language. If you are from Java language, if you are using, then you are very lucky because Java handles all that for you, whereas in C it's your responsibility to make sure that you are within the bounds. Okay, we did that in the when we talked about arrays, but in C language, in strings, null character is important. Okay, so I have pasted the program in this slide. Try that and experiment yourself. The next simple program is I have defined same name, which is 16 characters, but only with 3 letters. All right, okay, here we have an array alright, old, and this places null character. So this is from 0 to 15. Now I want to scan f, read into this array, but from 1, 2, 3. From the third, or let me make that as a space, alright? Oops. So I want to, this is a space, it's a blank. I want to read into cell number 4. Alright. So how do I do that? I want to keep my initial let characters the same. Alright. So that's the idea here. Idea is to scan, read into a cell, not from this 0 but somewhere in the middle. If I go back here, I'm going to scanf. Obviously first I want to say printf, enter an item. I'm going to enter old car or old hat, old shirt, old pant, right? I'm going to say old car or old shoe, whatever that is. Alright? So I'm going to first enter an item. So scanf %s. Now how do I remember, when I say name, it is the address of the first cell, but I want from the 4th cell, that 5th cell. Alright, how do I do that? Okay, the way to do that is, what is the address of the first cell? In our case, it's the name, right? The alternate way to represent the address of the first cell, first method, when you just say name is the address of the first cell, but I want an alternate way to find the address of the first cell. The alternate way is name 0 gives me the value in that cell, but I don't want the value, I want the address. For that is ampersand. When you say ampersand address of the first cell, what it really did was, it took this container and took the address. Alright, so similarly, the address of the next cell is nothing but that. The address of this second cell, third cell, or fourth cell, whatever that is, you just have to mention gives the fourth cell. So let's go ahead and write this simple program. So I have to create a space in here. Remember, we had a space. Oops, where is that? We had a space here. We need that because C is putting as a null character in the fourth cell, and I want to start reading from this, right, which is 4. So if I pass that, scanf will start reading your whatever you entered, and it will start copying into these cells until the length that you are given. Okay, let's do this. Old car. So I'm going to enter car now. So I'm going to write this, and I have to print now. Print the new name is or you can say you entered the item I'm going to give the whole array. Alright, enter item. So I said car. So you entered the item old car. So when we entered car, CAR, it took that value, and scanf already puts the end of line for us. So that is 4 letters, characters, CAR and a null. And it copied that into this, and it okay. The scanf took the address of this guy. That's what you passed. And when you entered CAR, it copied C into this, which is the first element, A and R, and scanf placed 0 for you. So when you printed old space car, right? That's what we got. So let's go ahead and do one more time. Spice. So you entered item old spice. See that? But what if I want to print only the things I entered? Why am I entering even the stuff that was already in there? I want to print only things that I entered. Alright, only this element, not the whole thing. So the way you do that is you enter the item address that's it. You are passing the address of the cell. Alright. So printf takes the address of the first cell, goes and looks for the null character and prints the entire string for you. Okay, let me spice. So what happened was the printf statement now printed only spice. It didn't print old spice. Why? Because we did passed only the address of the fourth cell. The printf searched printed all the character starting from the fourth all the way until the null character. This is, like I said, this is very important, null character. Alright, so that is how you use or manipulate the array of characters in combination with the null character. So you have to really understand how scanf works. Alright, so this is one aspects of null character, and you can manipulate the array by passing the address of the cells either to scanf or to print. Right, now we will look into the difference between %c and %s. For instance, scanf alright, name let's say 4, I'm just going to make it a little bigger. Scanf now what is the problem with these two statements? Alright, let me make it a little bigger. So what is the difference between, is this scanf correct or wrong? This is wrong, right? Because we are sending the, remember scanf needs the address. Here we are sending the value in cell number 4, but our scanf needs the address when you're dealing with just one cell. So we need to send the address for scanf, and this should be okay. We are just reading a character, and in this case we are again sending the value at cell number 4, but scanf needs the address, so we need to put the ampersand there. Alright, so those you need to understand the difference between these two. So I have written a simple program where I am scanf only character at the fourth cell, and I am printing the character at the fourth cell. So we are trying to see the difference between %c and %s, right? So when I do this, gc5.c old, when I entered old, it took the first character because I said print scanf only the character, right? Only the character and print the character. That's all I want, right? So it printed only the character, which is O for us. Now let me change the program to for the string which we did before, right? So in other words, percent character will only print one letter in the array. Percent s will print the array until it sees the null character, which we saw that before. Okay, so I have pasted the code using controls, just the scanf with %c, right? So we have looked at different things. This is the same program. So we have looked into strings so far, how to scanf, printf, alright, and how to print using %c, %s for both cases, how to send address of the cell for scanf and printf, and we'll try to solve more problems, alright. The next simple topic is how to read multiple strings. The scanf, as we know, uses space as the delimiter, right? So we will let's say, for instance, the user enters George Bush Senior, and in order to read each and every word into a variable, like say first name, last name, let's call it this title or what, and you can do, instead of saying scanf %s f name like that, we can put everything in one shot. We can say, I'm sorry, %s, 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 f name, last name, title. We saw this, right? Let's write the simple program here. I already written it for you to make up the time. So I declared a first name George, last name some name here. We don't even have to I'll remove it for you. Alright, so nothing is initialized, and we say enter a name of a president, and look at how I've done %s, 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 and I put all three things in one shot, passing the address of the first cell, which is the variable name itself. Alright, and I print in one shot. Yeah, so if I compile this, oops, I have some small problems. Oh, I have a here. let's say uh, Obama we were talking about George Bush, right? George Bush Senior. So here George Bush Senior I entered in one shot, so I'm forcing the scanf to read everything in one shot. That's what it is. So when I do that, it says you entered George Bush, and because each and every variable contains the first name, the last name, and the uh, title, right? And so that's one way to read. All right. So I have pasted the program in this slide. All right. So I'm going to stop at this. In the next lecture, oh, here, the last one is we're going to talk about functions, string functions. All right. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about string functions called string compare, string length, string copy. These are the vital functions that we normally use. So we'll just stick with those three functions, and as we go we will incorporate more string, cat. There are more functions, and we will use this kind of functions in our program. Okay, that's the next lecture.